dispense with?
Without objection.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask unanimous consent to yield back all remaining time on the motion to proceed to calendar number 144, HR 4350, the National Defense Authorization Act. That if the motion to proceed is agreed to, the Reed-Inhofe substitute amendment number 3867, as modified with the changes at the desk, be called up and reported by number. Further, that it be in order to call up the following amendments to the Reed-Inhofe substitute amendment 3867 as modified in the order listed. 1, Reed, number 4775. 2, Hoven, number 4482. 3, Sanders, number 4654. 4, Lee, number 4793. 5, Paul, number 4395. 6, Hawley, number 4140. 7, Peters Portman, number 4799. 8, Scott of Florida, number 4813, substitute to number 4799. Side by side, excuse me. Those would be number 8, Scott, 4813, side by side to 4799. 9, Durbin Lee, number 3939. 10, Cardin, number 3980. 11, Lujan Crapo, number 4260. 12, King Sass, number 4784. 13, Cruz, number 4656. 14, Kane, number 4133. 15, Hassan, number 4255. 16, Menendez, number 4786. 17, Marshall, number 4093. 18, Kennedy, number 4660. 19, Sanders, number 4722. 20, Portman, number 4540. That, with the exception of the Reed Amendment, number 4775, the Senate vote at 9:30 p.m. today in relation to any first-degree amendment offered in the order listed above, with 60 affirmative votes required for adoption of amendments in this agreement and 2 minutes of debate equally divided in the usual form prior to each vote.
Is there objection? The senior senator from Florida.
Reserving the right to object. What's missing from this list is our Uyghur Forced Labor Prevention Act. In a moment, you're going to hear that it has this procedural problem, blue slip. Anyone who's not familiar with the lingo around here, that means it's going to generate revenue and therefore has to originate in the House. That's what you're going to hear in a moment. Here's what's so interesting about it. About, 4, 5, 6 weeks ago, that very bill passed by unanimous consent in this very Senate. This bill doesn't have a blue slip problem. It has a bunch of corporations who are making stuff in Xinjiang province problem. Okay? That's what the problem here. And so everyone's aware, everyone here is aware, I hope, in the Xinjiang province of China, Uyghur Muslims are put into forced labor camps where they work as slaves, something that this administration and the previous termed as genocide. They work as slaves making products. And there are American companies that are sourcing goods that end up in the shelves in this country. It is, in fact, almost certain that in this very chamber there is some product that was manufactured by slave labor in China. We passed that bill in the Senate by unanimous consent. Not a single person objected to it. There was no blue slip problem then. Now, all of a sudden, there is. This is because there's a bunch of, that's how they're killing it in the House. A bunch of these corporations lobbying against it, doing everything possible, and they know if it gets in this bill, it's going to become law. So I object, and I ask that the request be modified to include my amendment 4330.
Is there objection to the modification?
I object to the modification, Madam Chairman.
Objection is heard to the modification.
Madam President.
Is there objection to the original request?
I object.
Madam
Objection
President,
is heard.
I renew my request.
Is there objection? The junior senator from Montana.
Reserving the right to object. Madam President, border security is national security. And that's why I rise today to speak on my amendment, number 4236, to block President Biden's outrageous taxpayer-funded handouts to illegal immigrants who broke the law and entered our country illegally. At a time when American families are struggling because of Bidenflation, when families are paying more for everything from gas to groceries to heating their homes, the president wants to give up to hundreds of millions of your taxpayer dollars to illegal immigrants as a reward for breaking the law. Don't forget, we still have a crisis on our southern border, and we should be doing all that we can to secure our southern border, not incentivize illegal immigration. These taxpayer-funded handouts to illegal immigrants are outrageous, and I would urge my colleagues to allow a vote on my common sense amendment. Therefore, I ask unanimous consent to modify the request to include my amendment number 4236.
Madam
Is
President,
there objection to the modification?
I object to the modification.
Objection is heard. Is there objection to the original request?
I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President, I renew my request.
Is there objection? The junior senator from Pennsylvania.
Madam President, reserving the right to object, I'd just like to bring to my colleagues' attention the front page of the Wall Street Journal, the lead story, the headline above the fold today: annual drug overdose deaths top 100,000, setting a record. For the 12 months ending in April, all-time record number of fatalities, big majority of them opioids, mostly synthetic opioids, driven primarily by fentanyl. It's unbelievable. Think of 100,000 new families in the last 12 months that'll have an empty seat at the Thanksgiving Day dinner next Thursday. Pennsylvania's been hit as hard as any state, but every one of our states has been hit hard by this. So why am I objecting to this? Because I've got an amendment that, at least on the margins, would help. It's simple and it's common sense. It adds fentanyl to the majors list. The majors list is the list that includes the countries that the president has to identify as the largest producers of illicit fentanyl. That's China, let's be clear. But once these countries, any country, is identified as a big producer of fentanyl, my bill would require those countries to prosecute drug traffickers and schedule fentanyl as a class. And if they do not, then they're not doing all they could and should be doing to keep fentanyl off our streets. In which case, under my amendment, the president would be authorized to withhold certain categories of foreign aid. This bill is so non-controversial and common sense, it's actually already passed this body just last year. It's bipartisan. Senator Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, Democrat, is my partner on the underlying bill. And I would point out to my colleagues, I don't have any objection to anyone getting an amendment vote. I'm not holding up anybody's votes, as long as we get this chance to reduce the flow of fentanyl coming into America. So I ask to modify the request to include my amendment number 3925.
Is there objection to the modification?
Madam President, I object to the modification.
There is objection. Is there objection to the original request?
I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President, I renew my request.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
The junior senator from Idaho.
Madam President, reserving the right to object, I want to speak today on behalf of my amendment, RISCH 4794, which is not included on that list, which I've introduced with co-sponsors Senators Portman, Cruz, Barrasso, Johnson, Cotton, DAINES, and Wicker. This amendment is the Senate companion to bipartisan language that already is included in the House-passed NDAA, which would sanction Nord Stream 2, Putin's premier energy weapon against the Ukraine and Europe. The timing could not be more important. Ukraine stands on the brink of an invasion, and Europe is in the throes of an energy crisis created by Russia. There's a reason Ukraine's President Zelensky tweeted an urgent request last week regarding this amendment, which said, quote, all friends of Ukraine and Europe and the U.S. Senate should back this amendment. We're now seeing the consequences of the administration's decision to waive mandatory PISA sanctions and refusal to impose CAATSA sanctions. Russia has deliberately cut gas transmission to Europe through the Ukraine and is using high energy prices to pressure the EU into approving Nord Stream 2 as quickly as possible. Putin has publicly stated as such. Meanwhile, Russian forces have built up along the border with Ukraine in preparation for what could be a full-scale invasion, just as they did to the Crimea. Remember, Nord Stream 2 is designed to replace Ukraine's gas transit system, meaning Russia no longer has to worry about destroying its own infrastructure in the event of a full-scale war. We cannot allow Putin's blackmail to succeed. Nord Stream 2 has always been a bipartisan issue here in the Senate, and it should continue to be. Not a single member of Congress supports the completion of this pipeline. I'd like to think a similar number of us don't feel we should ignore our friends in Europe, particularly Central and Eastern Europe, who stand to lose the most from Nord Stream 2. Our amendment would impose mandatory sanctions against Nord Stream 2 AG, the company responsible for the project, as well as the companies involved in testing and certifying the pipeline before it can become operational. We do provide the administration with a pathway to lifting these targeted sanctions, pending, of course, congressional review. This pathway is the exact same process for congressional input that 98 senators voted for in CAATSA just a few years ago. Nord Stream 2 is not set to become operational for months, so there's still time to stop it, but we need to act quickly. I urge my colleagues to join our distinguished colleagues in the House of Representatives on this important endeavor and to vote yes on this amendment. Therefore, I ask unanimous consent to modify the request of distinguished Senator Reid and include my amendment, number 4794.
Is there objection to the modification?
Madam President, I object to the modification.
Objection to the modification is heard. Is there objection to the original request?
I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President, I renew my original request.
Is there objection?
Madam President,